All right, everybody. You are listening to The Jungle, Auburn men's basketball podcast. Auburn has defeated Georgia 94-73. A really dominant win in a lot of ways. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Ben is back, by the way, Ben Young. We wanted a big win against Georgia to kind of get rid of some of the bad vibes of the last two-game losing streak. We got them. Neville Arena was rocking. We're making shots. The defense showed a lot of good things in the first half. Great win. What'd you think?
Matt, it figures that you guys have to bring me back on to talk about a huge win in which we got outshot at the free throw line. We got out rebounded. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yes, very exciting win.
Huge win. So, I want to make sure we mark this. This is the halfway point of the SEC season. Okay. So that first half of the schedule we've talked about all year is now over. 7-2 is, I don't think we're thrilled with how we've gotten here in a lot of ways, but 7-2 is a good first half. We know the second half's a lot harder. This win was huge. Georgia hadn't swept us in 6 years. Glad we can make that 7. You hold serve at home. You get rid of some of that Mike White mojo that Bruce might have been dealing with a little bit. I thought they called a great game on offense tonight. And, these guys, it's been an up and down year, especially on the offensive end. And it was really fun to see a bunch of guys really go off and have great offensive games. Hopefully, Jackson mentioned we want to see some confidence, right? We want to see maybe that second half against West Virginia gets guys believing a little more, getting a little more of that mojo going. And I think tonight, we'll pick on some things, but they played really well, especially on offense, which is nice to say during this season.
And like you were just saying, we saw a continuity from the effort plays that we were witnessing against West Virginia. We did a fantastic job for us from 3-pointers tonight, but that wasn't really how we won this game. That was how we stretched the lead in the second half, but we did the dirty work inside. Alan Flanagan, masterful driving the ball in this game. He was 8 of 10 from the floor, and we'll talk about Janai Broom in a little bit as well. But Georgia, once again, second straight game, did not have an answer for our big man inside. And those two guys started us off our first 9 points in the game. And they gave us a lead that we never relinquished. And we played the style that I think Bruce wants to play with his team, which is inside out. We're going to beat you 2 points at a time now.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've been doing that more this year than we ever have. And I think we see the reasons why. But man, I think the big picture for me, and announcer did a great job of talking about it. If Auburn just hits a few threes, just make people a little worried from the perimeter, man, it opens up a lot of stuff. And all of a sudden, some of those play calls, some of those actions, you're getting some really good looks inside. But you're right. It all starts going inside to our 4 and our 5 guys. Mainly.
That's how we get those clean looks. That's how we're able to manufacture the shots off of movement. We saw Chris Moore come back in tonight. He got some really fantastic looks, only hit one of them, but it was in perfect rhythm. You could tell it was the shot that we wanted. And that's just the difference for this team. We can get the shots we want. It's just, are they going to fall?
Well, so let's get into this fascinating MVP. So we won the game. We want to talk about the guys who helped us get there. There's 3 main guys. And sometimes with MVP, we wonder well, did this guy really have a good enough game to get an MVP? We had 3 guys play really well. And I would venture to bet, unless we're playing a top 5 team, if we have 3 of our veterans play really, really well, we're going to win a bunch of basketball games. We just haven't seen that consistently. Wendell Green, Janai Broom, and Alan Flanagan. For Broom and Flanagan, it's arguably their best games of the year. I just wanted to make sure we talk about those 3 guys. They were all terrific.
Yeah, let's start with Flanagan's stat line because, again, just an incredible night. 8 of 10 from the field. More importantly, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. He was an incredibly effective outside shooter. 1 rebound, 1 assist, not remarkable, but 2 huge steals. And the most important stat of all, Matt's favorite, 0 turnovers, ladies and gentlemen.
And I mean, first of all, let's just remember a month ago where we were at with Allen. It's been so nice to see him coming on, getting more and more confident. Tonight, just off the top of my head, he scored on a fast break streaking dunk from your guy Trey on a great long pass. He hit his threes. He hit mid-range. He attacked the rim. He got fouled. He got to the line. He just continues to look at himself. I just don't know how else to say it. He looks like the Alan Flanagan that we're used to.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been hoping to see more of this season is our anticipation of space. And we've been doing it a little bit with our passing, not so much with our catching, and definitely not with our driving. We have some really athletic guys on this team, but their ability to see where the space is going to open and know how to attack has been something that has always just been a slight step behind all year. Until tonight, for especially for Alan Flanagan, his ability to know where his cuts are to get to his spot on the floor that he wanted to pull up, or when he knew he had his guy beat to drive one-on-one into the lane. It was a masterclass in all of the things that make Alan Flanagan an NBA prospect as a basketball player.
He was terrific. And honestly, it is borderline shocking that we're even having an MVP discussion after the game he played. He played incredibly.
We had a couple of other interesting moments happen. Wendell was one of my players to watch in our graphic. He had a miserable shooting night. And tonight he was much more himself. He was 3 of 6 from 3, 6 of 11. He made some of those circus drives in the lane. 6 assists, 18 points, kind of a game that you expect from a Bruce Pearl point guard. He's going to score in the teens. He's going to assist well. He's going to be the focal point of the offense. But it's hard for me to want to give Wendell this MVP because he did so much of his damage on the fact that other guys were a threat. And that has seemed to be the catalyst for Wendell's good play. When other guys are scoring, whether it's Janai, whether it's Jalen, whether it's Allen, like it was tonight, he is able to exploit his matchups in a really fantastic way.
I agree. He's probably not MVP, but I think we have to mention him. And
yeah, we got to mention him because we're going to talk about
because he played well. He played. I agree with you. He did play off some of those guys, but the encouraging thing for me was this just simple. It felt like he took what was there. He might have forced a couple, like Auburn guards are going to under Bruce Pearl. Just get used to it.
Well, and the game was out of hand at that point. I think.
Yes,
he had some frustrating turnovers in the second half, but they were attempts at highlight plays.
But
they weren't really Wendell in the offense.
It was great to see him just taking a mid-range jumper that's wide open and knock it down. It was great to see him. They went over a screen and roll at the top, and the five guy didn't come out and guard him, and he just drills a three. And it wasn't the logo, it wasn't the transition three. It was just these simple plays. One time they didn't guard him in the corner. The Georgia got mixed up in a switch, and he just stepped back and buried a corner three.
Well, let's not give that too much credit there or Georgia too much credit there because Wendell saw that space, and I don't know if he was meant to go there, but he found that open space on the outside and got himself open. And yeah, it was a fantastic shot. We haven't seen Wendell shoot from the corner very much. It's primarily been top of the key.
Yeah.
So that to me felt like a good scouting report, knowing that we need to do some things a little bit differently going forward down this stretch to create shots for ourselves. And that was what we saw tonight. We saw Wendell use the offense to create shots for himself when he could get those opportunities.
And we had the lob game, the alley-oops came back, which Jackson, if he was here, would be gushing over that. We got some really good passes from him. His 2 turnovers. Now, we only had 5 turnovers as a team, which is why we scored so many points, which is why we had such a good game. So we'll talk about the importance of that later. But his 2 were horrific. They were really bad. But I feel like outside of those 2 possessions, Wendell was great. And this is one of those great games in the middle of SEC play where he didn't have to play 34 minutes. He got, he got a lot of rest in the second half, still had his moments. He played really well. And again, I think if you're looking for one player who kind of mirrors our team's success, it's Wendell Green. And it was just good to see him have a solid game.
Yeah. But now we have to talk about our real second contender for MVP.
Yes.
Mr. Double-Double himself, Janai Broome. 19 points, 18 rebounds. A man after my own heart, perfect from the line. I think for what might be the first time all season, he had all 3 of his free throws. He had a block. He added a steal. He even added an assist.
0 turnovers.
That's right. Once again, we have the 0 turnover mark from one of our stars. Huge.
And Broome has been, if you were going to pick on 2 things, right, all year, it's been missing some of those short range, which, by the way, he's kind of quietly been cleaning up a little bit of that as he's gotten more comfortable. But number 2, people were doubling him. He was just having issues holding onto the ball, and, he was turning it over some. And I've never seen this watching college basketball. 19 and 18 in 22 minutes, Ben Young. He only played half the game because he didn't need to play in the second half. And Cardwell I loved Cardwell's extended playing time. I think that was a great development just for him and team morale. Like, I think that was awesome. But Broome, I almost think he has to be the MVP for what he did in half the game and how you mentioned it earlier. it just opened everything up, and he killed Georgia on the glass.
If we don't mess around in the second half, this game is obviously over by halftime. We had an opportunity to stretch the lead multiple times to 20 points before the half, which is pretty insurmountable, especially for this Georgia team. And Janai had a double-double in the first half, 12 points, 11 boards.
Yeah.
Like that's already a standard performance for a star in college basketball. And he had that in the first half. I'm seeing here on ESPN stats, he only played 21 minutes, barely over half the game,
Yeah.
19 boards, 18 buckets, 0 turnovers. I don't know how you argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't do co MVPs because Jackson will kill me. But it's it is a shame that both of these guys can't get it. I mean, Broom, you did a great job teeing it up before the game. Like, he was dominant against Georgia the first time. Clearly, that dominance was still there. Our guys were so confident in him on the defensive glass that I was getting a little frustrated at times because everybody else was kind of reinforcing some bad habits by not team rebounding, which we've needed at times. But man, he was getting the loose balls. He was such an enforcer inside, and he was 8 for 9 on his 2-point shots. You know, he took an open three early. He took another one. He was 8 for 9. Like, if he's finishing efficiently, if he's getting dunks and layups and lobs, if he's rebounding like that and he's not turning it over, like, it's just a massive game. I mean, he put up Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler did that once or twice last year, I think, 15 and 15. So huge.
He joins elite company for Auburn with Walker Kessler and Austin Wiley as the only players to put up 15 and 15. Please. So we're talking a historic night for Janai. And I wish the stat that we had was how many of those points came from putbacks, because I know there were at least 6. And that, you want to talk about second chance opportunities. That's another huge one. If you get second chance from inside of 2 feet and you can finish there, that cleans up so many more problems, because now guys are less willing to extend their defense because they feel like they have to help on the rebound opportunity, because you've got Janai right under the basket ready to get you too.
Well, there was that possession early in the game, right, where, Auburn didn't shoot. We missed our first 6 threes. We missed some shots, but there was a possession where we got 3 or 4 offensive rebounds in a row, and it just kind of set the tone to me. Like, it was great to see us leading the game early without making anything. Yeah, because we were getting to the line. We got a couple putbacks. I don't know. It's just, I think Broom had a lot to do with why this game got out of control. And I think that's why I lean him for MVP. And it's just a ridiculous stat line. But if you had told me a month ago that Flanagan was going to go for 22 in an SEC game on 10 shots and make 3 3-pointers with no turnovers, I would have laughed at you. So I think I'm leaning Janai. What do you think?
Flanagan. Yeah, I think it's just when you look at the game in full context and you don't fall in love with the box score, it's hard to deny Janai's impact in this game. And he is what we have been craving for this Auburn team all along, which is know your identity and know what your matchups are going into the game, and then just exploit them. That is the recipe for beating Georgia. Georgia couldn't stop him last time, and they couldn't stop him this time, and we knew it. And so we led with that and let that open everything else up. And so if we can continue to establish that kind of a confident identity, I think that gives this team a lot more options going forward.
Absolutely. And we've said it so many times, where Janai will be crowned as the MVP, but this team needs 3 guys to score. We know our strengths, and I think at this point, who's going to score for this team consistently? We know. Actually, if you're cool, we can maybe talk through some of the other players besides those.
Well,
3.
just before we get away from the team stats, I do want to talk about a massive improvement that we desperately needed, which was on the defensive end, and particularly in first half defense. We held Georgia to 24 points in the first half. Mm-hmm. Huge. And for the end of the game, it got away from us defensively a little bit in the second half. But Terry Roberts, the nightmare guard that torched us for 26 the last time we played, 7 points. He only put up 5 shots, which meant we figured something out to force the ball away from him. Mm-hmm. So for all you've heard about our inability to defend these tall, long guards, as a team, we made him not the most appealing option, which is just another reminder that this coaching staff knows how to scheme around the talent that they have to force the ball where they want it to go.
Oh, how about Aquendo too? I mean, Aquendo is a really good player. If you were following the mold of, if you were kind of a believer in this idea that all the good guards we play have great games, because there have been a few that have gotten us. Aquindo is that wing, that perimeter guy who is well thought of in this league. We held him to 2 for 8 shooting. He got most of his points from the free throw line, attacking.
1 for 7 from 3-point.
From 3. We let McBride go off, who I think averaged 3 points a game, and and we'll talk about how that happened.
Yeah, a lot of that was garbage time and just them having a good offensive set.
But yeah, if you're looking for something, it's encouraging that we held, their 2 perimeter guys, and we held them down, and I think that's a valid concern that we've seen. You're right to point that out. How about some other goodies? Georgia only shot 18 2-point attempts in this game. And some of that is because we left them open from 3 too much in the second half because we decided we didn't want to get back and match up. But a lot of that, I think, when you combine that stat with what we just talked about with Roberts and Aquindo, like I think we did a really nice job. It felt like we were able to be more aggressive in our pick and roll defense, in our half court defense, because we knew who not to be scared of. Like we were able to be more aggressive with our 5 guys, 5 men or centers, and kind of because they weren't hitting that roll guy. I mean, they didn't. Right. I think they tried to do it once in the second half. So another good scout, like you said, we don't give our coaches enough credit. They've been around this league.
I think we do on this podcast, maybe not on Twitter, but
well, but you're right. Like it was a really good adjustment, and
it's a good reminder that the MAT system, the minutes against time trailing, is a really effective way for understanding what style of basketball you're gonna have to play when you get down like this. We had Georgia down, what was it, 16 at halftime, which is a pretty 18, yeah. So we put them where we had been previously. And let's be frank, Georgia is a better 3-point shooting team than we are, and has been all year. But when you force a team to make that their bread and butter and say that this is how you're going to try to come back in a basketball game, it's a tough way to go, even when you're good, and especially on the road. Another fantastic stat for us, we finished with 22 assists to their 14.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Sorry, that was an audible gasp at how good that was on 22 assists on 36 makes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
How about this for one, Ben? How about this? Do you want to know our shooting percentage on 2-point shots tonight?
Give it to me.
70% from 2. We got inside. We got guards inside. We got bigs inside. We got offensive rebounds and putbacks. We shot okay from 3 for us. We shot decent at 36%. We hit 9, which is pretty good for us. But
let's remember we had Broom jack up a couple that he didn't really need to.
He was just make no mistake. Like you said, this is who we are. This is who we are this year. And to score 94 on 9 threes is, I don't know, there's not a lot of college basketball teams doing that against any competition. So.
And, I hesitate to bring up the free throws because there was one person that really killed us at the line tonight, and that was Dylan. And, the way Dylan was officiated in this game was frustrating.
Disgusting. It was disgusting, Ben.
Okay. All right, here comes Matt with a hot take.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was really bad. He got to the line a lot late on 2 shots and in situations that were very weird, very frustrating. I don't think he's had the opportunity at game speed to take a lot of free throws this year, so I'm sure that was part of it. But, he finished 4 for 5 from the field. 8 points. 8 points from Cardwell? Massive.
Well, and he got his dunks. He had some great moments. And I think it's been hard to watch him behind Janai just not quite get the time. And then he's had some bad luck with calls, and he's had some weird, just some weird stuff happen. And it was just really good to see him get extended run in the second half. You see how productive and effective he can be. He's a problem on the glass. He brings all the good things that we talk about. The 4 fouls on him tonight were, sometimes you just have games like this where it's just like, it reminded me of Anthony McLemore used to get the worst foul calls on him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I always felt bad for him. And Cardwell tonight, I mean, there were 2 of those 4 that were just, I don't know what they call it. I still don't know what they call it. It's
There
very
was definitely a foul where I think Dylan thought he was going to foul out, and then they wound up giving him the foul like they should have been the other two times.
yeah, exactly.
And they were like, no, 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 you're going to the line. You're going to line to shoot.
Um,
But speaking of our bench too, Trey Donaldson continuing to get valuable minutes out of him. 5 assists tonight.
huge.
And I think we're starting to see him develop some of that chemistry with Dylan and with Allen that he had not had previously. And I think kind of tightening up our rotations has really, really helped in that regard. And I think that's been part of the thing that we were really missing from Johan. His breakout against South Carolina was primarily due to his ability in the fast break and just ISOing inside. But we saw there were a couple of times where he got the ball and he could have had a double digit game for himself, but he wasn't ready. He wasn't anticipating. The game seemed to be moving a little fast for him. But you put Trey out there on the floor with Jalen, Dylan, Allen, and I think Chris Moore was out there with him a good bit tonight, uh, playing the three, or Lior. And there seems to be some real chemistry developing in that second unit where we can keep pace. And that's always been huge for us is can we at least go 2 for 2 and trade baskets while that second unit's out there?
Well, I'm glad you said that because two things. Trey, the thing I love right now, Trey is starting to get a little bit of an identity as he's a different point guard than Wendell, right? The ball's getting out of his hands more. He has really shown a lot of great vision and passing and getting other guys. He's kind of more, at this point in his career, he has really embraced. He's a traditional point guard that distributes the ball. And there have been so many of these SEC games. I'm not sure people appreciate this enough. He's not turning the ball over. I know he's only playing 10 or 15 minutes a game, but he's taking care of the ball. And you hit the nail on the head. The beginning of the second half, our defense was atrocious. And fortunately, the first team offense was hitting shots too, and we maintained our 18-point lead or 20-point lead or whatever. And then I was like, man, like we could have really blown them out, the first few minutes of the second half. And then Trey and some of the backups came in, and the same thing happened. Now the defense still wasn't great, but we were still scoring. And like you said, that's a huge development. And I just love that there's kind of it reminds me, it's just a different kind of player. You game plan all week for Wendell Green and how ball dominant he can be in Bruce's offense and how to defend those screens. And then Trey comes in and all of a sudden he's kind of a bowling ball going downhill and he's getting the ball out quicker and getting way more comfortable. He broke the press beautifully tonight. I think Trey doing a great job.
And one of the other things that's been interesting to watch, speaking of him as a non-ball dominant point guard, is he's slotting into that Zep role that we saw him as the starter a lot last year, which is the ball gets out of his hands fairly quickly, but he will also then go and find a spot to shoot. And we saw one of those fantastic 3-pointers tonight where he cut himself outside to the wing, got I believe it was a dish from KD to Dylan, who found him wide open on the wing. Easy in rhythm 3-pointer. And again, his only 3 points of the night. But when you're talking about your bench performance, so often for us, that's the difference between winning and losing. Are those guys giving us, 2 to 8 points a night? And that's the difference between winning by 21 and losing by 3.
I'm so glad you mentioned him. 5 assists in 14 minutes is no joke. I mean, he almost has as many as Wendell the whole game. And Wendell played a lot more. So, man, still thankful for Trey. Like, with what's happened with Chance and his versatility this year and losing that, I mean, Trey's been a big part of kind of keeping this thing together. And he's clearly getting more comfortable and getting better, which is all you can ask for from a freshman that, I think a lot of us didn't think would play. Not you, Ben. Ben thought he was going to play, and he was right.
Number one Trey fan right here. We got one more guy that we really need to talk about, and of course, I mean Lior Berman, who
I got 3 more. I know.
Lior continues to get officiated in a very strange and frustrating way. I think it's partially because he has so much hustle on his rebounds that I don't know why SEC refs feel the need to protect other players from the great and mighty Lior Berman, but he gets some head scratching whistles. He's not getting beat defensively. There is something about what he has figured out with his footwork that is keeping guys in front of him and saying, look, if you want to pull up and shoot from 8 feet, I'm going to leave that open for you. What you're not going to do is drive by me. And what you're not going to do is pull out at the edge of the key and get an open 3-pointer. It's aggressive. It's in your face. It's tenacious. And he's really earned these minutes that he's getting from Bruce.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's as simple as we know Bruce and Leor have a good connection. They have a lot in common, and I know he appreciates what Leor brings to the team. Um, First of all, Leor is making a shot every game, which for this offense, we'll take anybody who can make shots. And
Yeah,
then
points.
and then secondly, I love your point. I think sometimes Leor gets beat on the first dribble, but he is incredible, like at recovering and
Mhm.
reestablishing that defensive position and forcing a mid-range shot, which with the way we want to play, with the way I will personally want us to play defense, that is exactly the kind of player I want. So, and he's going to give you effort. He's going to work his tail off on rebounding. He reminds me of kind of Devin. You remember when Devin Cambridge got into this weird, like he was just flying. He wasn't making shots. He was kind of struggling. He was just flying around getting rebounds. And
Oh yeah.
Leor is doing those things really well. And there was a great possession I just want to point out about Leor. The ball kind of got stuck on the other side of the floor, and Wendell was a little perturbed. He didn't get the ball, but he wasn't for him. It was because Leor was wide open in the corner, and your point guard, who can be a little ball dominant, was like, he got it to him really fast. Leor missed the three, but he saw that as an opportunity. Say, hey, Leor's open in the corner, like get him the dang ball. And
Yeah.
Wendell got it quick pitch to him in the corner. Like that says a lot. Like that kind of thing from a guy like Wendell Green. Like they have really accepted Leor in this rotation. And who was it? What game was it where a couple players went after him a little bit, like kind of after a whistle? And KD and like everybody was over there like to defend Leor's honor. And
Oh yeah.
those are the things I like to see. He, like you said, he's earned it. Nothing's been given to him. He deserves to be on the floor more than Johan does at this point in the season, and that's why Bruce is playing him, because he's chosen to slide Chris Moore down to power forward for now.
Yeah, and you see, he missed his 3-pointers tonight, but he's finding the spot that's open, and the reality is he makes one of those, and the way that teams have to defend that second unit shifts entirely, because now you have a small forward that can shoot from three, and if you want to try and play that zone, you're going to have to stretch a guy further out to the wing, and that just opens up all the driving lanes for Flanagan. It opens up all the driving lines for the next guy we need to discuss, Mr. KD Johnson, continuing his bounce back performance against West Virginia. Some head scratching plays tonight, but net positive. We'll take it.
Well, I don't care how good of a game KD plays. There's going to be some head scratching moments. It's been an interesting dialogue, right? I mean, I've read message boards. We've talked about it in our group chat. Look, I completely understand any Auburn fan who has reached a breaking point with KD Johnson. Like, I get it. Trust me, it's been really bad at times. But the thing, I think people get too caught up in the shot selection with him and his numbers. I personally, I know, and we can have a good discussion about this. You're more like, hey, don't shoot us out of a game, please. Like, don't. And I get that, and it's a very valid point. What I have been most discouraged by most of this year with KD, we know the bad, but there is a set of things that he does on a basketball floor that nobody else on this team, or really many teams, can bring, and it just hasn't been there. It just hasn't, and that's why he's been so irrelevant, quite honestly, to most of this season. The last two games, he is getting his hands on more balls. He's diving on the floor. He's ripping balls out of people's hands. You remember last year he became famous. He wanted the ball more than everybody else, and he got it. This is the second half against West Virginia. I personally think he was a big reason for that comeback. He made a lot of little plays. He still he still missed shots. He missed a free throw. He turns it over, whatever. But he's making those plays again. And to see him take some, what Jackson would say are some bad shots that I don't want him getting used to taking, we'll deal with it. I mean, it's going to be there. I've given up.
But hang on, let's talk about that tonight, because he was 1 of 3 from 3-pointer. Not bad. 33%.
But Jackson would say none of those were great open in rhythm looks, and he'd be right.
Well, but again, the game was also out of hand at that point. It's the Georgia game for KD. It's a little bit of a revenge game.
Sure.
I don't mind it. That's the point where you just let the guys play. He played 26 minutes tonight and only shot the ball 7 times.
True.
That is right in line with my don't shoot us out of a game. Don't be too ball dominant. When he gets into double-digit shots, but is making between 20 and 30%, that's when I feel like we're losing more possessions than we're gaining from him. But
Yeah.
another huge thing tonight, he's always been great at finding our bigs. He's not that guy this year, I think, in part because we have two really fantastic point guards. But one turnover tonight.
It's good. You take it every time. He got to the lane. He got to the line a couple times, which you like to see from him. And it was you. I just hope like him and Cardwell. And this is a game for some of those guys that have just had a really rough year in some way. Like, can it unlock? I just need KD to be average KD. Like, if he is that the rest of the way, it's a huge thing. It's like Flanagan coming out to where he is now. Like, it really does add to our ceiling. And I'm just encouraged to see some of that in the last three halves of basketball from him. And it was really nice to see him play. He played the second most minutes, and Bruce knows Zep is like the model consummate. Like, he doesn't care. Like, Zep's going to be fine. He's going to play the same way every game. I think it was nice to get KD in the flow. Like you said, when the game's kind of out of hand, he was able to be more aggressive with no pressure, and he deserved that. And I hope we can get. Jalen Williams said something in the press this week about in the press. That was a weird thing to say. But he said, KD's not calm about anything, but we need him to pick up his play, basically. Like, we need what KD Johnson brings. And I am one of the few lone people that I still think, I know it's been rough, but I think he brings something to a team that is going to need some moments and some defense and some free points that you just find. I know I'm rambling here, but I just think there's still a really important role for him.
No, I'm glad for you to defend KD, because I'm the KD slanderer on the podcast. I'm happy to lose the magic of KD Johnson, only because, unlike last year's team, I feel like this is not a team that wants or needs magic. There were some times in a previous year, in particular last year, we had a lot of close games.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of close games, particularly on a good team, the thing that beats you is getting tight, feeling too much pressure, not wanting to be the man. We saw that with Jabari Smith a lot last year. One of the fantastic things about him, it was a huge detriment for us, was he was such a great teammate, and you wanted him to go out there and be the Kobe Bryant and say, no, the ball is coming to me and it's going through me. So many times at the end of games last year, our Kobe Bryant was KD Johnson.
Yep.
He said, what do we need? We need two. Let me go get them. And if I don't go get them, I'm going to make them foul me, and I'm going to hit my free throws, which he also did tonight, 4 of 5 from the line.
It's good. Now, we know that this is not, I hope it's every game. First back-to-back double-digit scoring games for him since non-conference play, by the way. So, like, it's sure it was only 10 against West Virginia, kind of, in the comeback effort, and 13 here. But like you said, on 7 shots, you sign up for more points than shots from KD every night if you can get it. And if you can get every that night in the defense, then, hey, we're good.
And again, you want to say that some of his points tonight were in garbage time, but none of them against West Virginia were. All of his points against West Virginia mattered. And, 4 of his points tonight he earned from the charity stripe. It's a big deal. That means you went out and took those points. Nobody just gave them to you.
Well, and so, he needs to get those calls going to the rim. And it's always kind of 50-50 with him. Like, he goes in a little out of control, which I think sometimes helps his cause getting fouls. But with certain crews, I think it kind of hurts him because they know he goes in there, out of control. But when he's getting to the line and then he makes a couple shots, well, yeah, like that's a different ballgame.
Yeah. And so, speaking of getting to the line and making some shots, let's talk to a guy who managed to not get to the line at all tonight, but still filled up the stat sheet. Your man, number 2 in the program, number 1 in Matt's heart, Jalen Williams.
Dude, it was kind of nice. I felt like it was old times where Jalen just gets to hang around the outskirts of the game, hit a couple shots, 5 rebounds, 4 assists from the big guy. I know people don't like him passing sometimes, but great passes. I thought defensively early in that first half, he was everywhere. He was getting deflections. He was having the thing I get mad about with Jalen is sometimes he doesn't rebound with enough ferocity for my liking. Mm-hmm. He really rebounded hard tonight. He and Janai kind of almost out-rebounded Georgia by themselves. And I just thought he did so many little things well to help this team build a lead in the first half. He played great one-on-one defense. It was an old school Jalen game where he doesn't score a lot, but I just felt like that's how I fell in love with him in the first place, was just all these great winning plays, and I think
all around basketball, and
all around.
we saw him go to the well. We saw this was such an identity game for us in so many ways, and Jalen is the perfect example of this, where his first shot, he got to that spot in the paint, turned around, hit him with that unblockable, unguardable hook shot, and now every time number two is in the paint, everybody on defense is looking at him.
Yeah.
Now you got Flanagan getting one-on-one. Now, if Jalen is waiting on the wing to drive inside and get one of his flying dunks that he got from Wendell, you've got to watch him when he's outside, and that gives Janai one-on-one. It's just he's the quintessential example of when teams are paying attention to him, they can't double Wendell, they
Yep.
can't double Janai. There are three guys on that floor that at any point are going to come inside and score on you if you leave them one-on-one. And that's what we need as a team. We need guys on defense looking everywhere and wondering, where is it coming from?
You're right. And how many times I just I'm encouraged. We lost against West Virginia having four guys in double figures, but I just feel like if we can get four guys to score pretty well, it's a really good sign for us. Jackson has done I think 70 points is a great target for this team every game. Can we get to 70? I think we're hard to beat when we get to 70 unless we dig ourselves a 16-point halftime deficit. But really nice to see. And Jalen had a wide open three in the corner early in the game too. I think that might have even been his first shot, or maybe after that too. I forget. So he's still involved, but when other guys, he is such a willing passer and a willing, not what's the word? He defers.
Facilitator.
He defers. He's okay playing this game, and the team winning by 21. And it's just been rare this year that the offense is flowing that well without him being a crucial part of it. I don't think that changes as we get into some tougher games. Like Jalen's got to be one of the go-to guys. I think we all know that, but nice to see him do what we know he can do and let some other guys kind of do their thing and maybe build some confidence today.
Yeah, tonight was a matchup night for Janai. Georgia did not have anybody that could match up with him, and Janai killed him. And that's not going to be the case going forward. A lot of these other teams, particularly Tennessee, who we've got to see twice. We know we've got Oscar Sheboy coming up. There are going to be some guys that can play with Janai inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when it's going to be incumbent on guys like Jalen and Flanagan to create that matchup nightmare and give Janai his one-on-one chances and give Wendell his one-on-one chances. That's when it becomes about guys like Flanagan and Jalen, even more so.
Can I make one point on Chris Moore?
Please.
So glad he's playing and healthy. Fascinated that he is no longer playing three at all. That Lior and by the way, with the Lior love, you know who Lior should be really thankful for? Alan Flanagan for becoming a 30-minute, more of the guy we thought, because that really allows Lior to play such a great role. But it's forced Chris out, and Chris kind of forced Johan out. And I like Chris Moore a lot. I don't think he looks the same. I don't think he's as quick, at least tonight. He was getting beat a good bit. He had a few issues on the other end. I think he gives up some. He's a good rebounder for his size. It just worries me having him as the backup four sometimes. He did it was great to see. You mentioned he got a couple wide open looks. Great to see him hit a three. Great to see him hit a little mid-range shot against the zone in the middle spot that Jalen has made his home in. So he did some good things. He had zero rebounds. He only played 14 minutes, but I don't know. I'm just not sure. Maybe he's not 100%. I don't know.
That's what I'm going to hope, because, I'm not a big guy into blaming the mystery of injury, because we know programs aren't going to tell you a ton about when a guy's hurt and when a guy's playing when he's hurt. But we just watched such a different Janai emerge when he finally had time to heal from the toe injury and some of these other things. And that explosiveness you're talking about, the explosiveness we're also seeing from Flanagan now. We're more than a year out from his Achilles. And he had talked about this to one of the commentators in practice, saying that they're starting to see what I'm like at full speed and know where I'm at full speed and know where I want the ball now that I'm at full speed. And so there's no taking for granted how important it is to be in rhythm. And Chris did not quite feel in rhythm tonight. It was great to see him back out there, but he was a weak point for us, and we need him as a strength.
But he is, I will say this, after questioning him, he's probably more solid to play 10 to 15 minutes than Johan is right now, as with the teams we're about to play.
100%.
So I guess it works out okay. I think we have not focused enough. We've mentioned it, we've brushed around it. Ben, if this team turns the ball over 5 times a game, we will be a very dangerous team. Now, we've watched enough basketball. We know this is a very 22 assists to 5 turnovers as a team is unheard of. It's over 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio as a team. That is, I'm trying to remember if I've seen that before. 5 turnovers
I'm sure we have in non-conference.
in a game
not from
where
this
we
team, but from
scored
like a good team.
94 points. We turned it over 5 times. We shot 64. We had 70-ish possessions, and we turned it over 5 times. I'm going to look it up because I'm so fascinated by this. I want to say we had 20 against Georgia in Athens.
So no, while you're looking at it, I've got those numbers pulled up from the last game.
Okay.
We were tied with Georgia 11-11.
Oh, never mind.
But we finished with 14 assists to their 11, and we managed to out rebound them. But what the difference was in Athens was our shooting was just atrocious, and we took 28 3-pointers and made 6, under a quarter from 3. And, we talked a little bit in our off-season pod about what this team was going to look like and who it was going to be. And we kind of came to a consensus that this team is going to go about as far as Wendell Green Jr. can take us. Now that he's the starter, now that he's the guy, he's got to be the straw that stirs the drink. And that first matchup against Georgia, 2 of 12 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3. He only had 3 assists to 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the recipe for how you beat Auburn.
Yep. So if you're, I know, look, it's at home, it's Neville Arena, it's totally different. Georgia is better this year, but we know they're not incredible. This is a quad 2 game. This is probably not a Georgia team that's going to be in the big dance. Having said all that, it is encouraging that we played the same Georgia team that really exposed us and we felt really uncertain about things. And it goes to show, I think people forget how different basketball games can be night in and night out. There's all these little factors of the shooting percentages and the closeouts. And there's these minuscule things that can make games very different. And we've seen the last 2 games, right? Like jockeying for that lead position. Are you up 16?
Look what happened to Tennessee tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Tennessee is a team that has been scoring, phenomenally and went into Gainesville tonight. And there's something, again, to be said for that home court advantage of you don't need to panic as much when you're at home and your shots aren't falling because the crowd's still with you. And the tricky part is when you have teams come in and shoot the lights out. And we tried to preach that a little bit when everybody was in full-on panic and full-on sell mode on this team that, hey, we did just watch 2 back-to-back lights out shooting performances from some pretty good teams.
Yeah.
A&M, I believe, is currently on the last 4 in.
Yep.
And West Virginia is probably going to dance. They're playing an incredibly tough Big 12 stretch. Mm-hmm. And they had just started to win some games and get hot. So, yeah, night in, night out, things can be different. It's super important when you're at home to play this well. And we got a really good look at just how good this team could be tonight when they don't beat themselves.
Yeah. I mean, just to reinforce, 13 turnovers for Georgia, 5 for Auburn. That's a massive win. We out-rebounded them by 10. What was the other one I wanted to say?
Steals.
Steals, 8-4. Points in the paint, 48-18. Hello, Ben Young. Identity in the paint. So really good. We've been hard on this team because we have seen some really good Auburn teams, and this one, quite frankly, has had some really bad looking moments. If we shoot decently well, which we definitely did, especially from 3, if we hit some threes, if we dominate turnovers and dominate rebounds, I don't care who you play, you've got an excellent chance to win. I don't care where you play. Now, easier to do against Georgia than a lot of the teams left on our schedule, but thrilled. I have to go on a 2-minute rant about the defense, and I think you'll join me, so cut me off at any point. Look, I am thrilled. The first half was awesome. We fell asleep a couple times, but our defense was exactly what I want it to be in the first half. We leaned into that half court first shot defense identity. I thought we were really engaged. I thought we had a really good plan for some of their sets. We were talking, and as we got stops, Ben, the energy and the communication increased. And it was great to see that. We went on like a 14-0 run in the first half, and we were just suffocating them. It was great. So we go up 18 at half, and then we're making shots to start the second half, but like, okay, this is just me as a very amateur coach. I was just dying. I was dying because this is a great example of what happened. So Jackson, he's busy. He had a work thing. So like, I'm giving him some of the benefit of the doubt. He texted us. He's like, well, I'm still concerned because they're making so many threes. You know why they made so many threes, Ben? Because we decided early in that half, when we could have buried them, not to get back in transition defense and to give up wide open looks. And then sometimes not even get matched up when we played man-to-man the whole game and just leave somebody open at the three-point line. And you know what happens when you let people get wide open? Scott Van Pelt, I love Scott Van Pelt. He always says, you can't leave guys nude at the three-point line. You can't leave them just standing there. These are good players. When you let guys get their rhythm, they will start making threes. It's not that complicated. They will make harder threes. Stevenson the other day, right? We gave him a couple. We fell asleep on a couple. He gets hot. So
And what did Stevenson do? Stevenson got to his spot. And the hardest part about watching him get bride in that second half was every single three-pointer, 3 steps to the left of the top of the key. He knew where he was going. Yep. He knew he wasn't going to be covered tightly. So he got to that spot as quickly as he could, got the ball, and shot it.
Danger of a zone, man. And I would love to see how many of those threes he hit against our zone versus man, because it felt like, and I'm glad we didn't play. We don't need to play it against Georgia. We didn't need to play it against West Virginia. I know we were a little scared because our man had been not great, but like, I would just so much rather us lean into this identity of who we are. I just think, look, great win for us. Love seeing us outscore Georgia, even in the second half when we kind of let them get open. They had 24 in the first half. They had 50 almost in the second half.
We had 52.
It was too casual.
Yeah.
It was too casual. And I'm just telling you, I've watched this team. We do that again when we're up 18. I hope we're up 18 and a half. It was our biggest halftime lead of the year against anybody. But if we get up like that and we do that on defense, we can easily blow an 18-point lead at half and lose.
Or we can do what we did against USC and blow a 4-point lead. We put on a 7-0 run to take the lead against USC, and we went in with a 2-possession lead into halftime, feeling pretty good about picking up a quad 1 win on the road. And then we just kind of took our foot off the gas. Yeah. And we saw that in a big way against we'll call them a middling Georgia team.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're bad. They've got some really good players. They've clearly got a good coach. But, we could be in a situation where we're up between 5 and 8 points on Tennessee next week at the half.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of second half effort is not going to cut it against a team that can shoot like that and a team that can facilitate to get the ball inside in a really big way.
You know who else was mad about that, Ben? Bruce Pearl, because he decided to call a timeout the second time it happened. And he never does this. He never calls timeout with 18 minutes left in the second half. Like, we had a big enough lead that I think he knew he could burn it, and he wanted to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, they didn't communicate well enough getting back and get covered. Like, Georgia was just fanning out to the 3-point line, and they burned us 3 or 4 times on that. Now, you can be concerned. Sure, I'm not thrilled that teams are shooting better from 3 lately. I did think that was going to happen. I thought our numbers were a little too good. We had really good 3-point defense numbers.
Yeah.
Like historically good almost. It's evening out. But look, you and I have talked about it so many times. This team doesn't have margin for error to give away points. And I think the thing that's going to make me more mad, and it should make the coaches and players more mad because they work too dang hard to win games like this, don't give up anything easy to the best of your ability. If you do that, we can live with the results.
Because again, we saw that against West Virginia in that second half. We dialed in, we made them work for it, and we nearly clawed our way back from 16 points down.
Yep.
Which is dang near impossible, even shooting the lights out the way that Georgia did in that second half. So we know we can do it. It's just a matter of being consistent for all 40 minutes. And I don't know that we've really seen a performance like that from this team yet, where they've played up to their full potential for all 40 minutes.
Yeah. And look, I know I'm not saying they're going to be perfect for 40 minutes. You're not saying that, but like, it was more the letdown. And look, be glad that we shot the ball well and we had a lot of fun in the second half. We scored a lot of points. So, but you know how mad everybody would have been if we had just shot more of a normal percentage and we won by 3 tonight.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't matter. A win is a win, whatever. But I just think it's a great learning opportunity for our guys. When it's different when you're up like that much. And if you just get a few stops to start the second half, the game's over. just
Yeah.
just force get those stops that you were so dialed in on in the first half.
We saw that happen to us against Texas A&M, where we would make some runs, but by about 12 minutes, we hadn't narrowed the gap to single digits. And that's when the game starts to really feel out of reach.
Yes. And that game to me was a great. I know we can do it because that A&M game, our defense was incredible in the second half after a bad first half. So like you said, we've seen the variances there. I just think it's a great learning opportunity. Bruce was clearly mad about it because we could have beat. I mean, look, Bama beat Vanderbilt by an ungodly number last night.
We almost went a whole Auburn broadcast without talking about that other team from T-Town. It's the one thing I want. I want us to be able to talk about Auburn without talking about that other school.
I know, but we could have beaten Georgia by 40 tonight.
We could have, yeah.
And look, it doesn't matter. I'm glad we won, but I just had to go off on that. I'm sorry.
No. And it's a good point because again, we as a program now need to always be thinking about things in the big picture. And we know that Bruce is, and we know that this coaching staff is. That's why Bruce burned that timeout. That's why up 20 points, he's still out there screaming at his guys because he knows that we're a team that can put on one of those shows and say, hey, we beat a team by more points than we allowed them to score.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good we can be. And it's about leaning into our identity, playing to our strengths, and winning as a team like we did tonight.
Anything else on the Georgia game, Ben?
No, it's oh boy, it feels good. Feels good.
I really didn't want to get swept by Georgia. This was as close to a must win. Obviously, nothing's a must win in an 18 game conference, but this was close because we know what's coming ahead of us. We're about to hit the road, not just to Knoxville, but to College Station the next 2 games. We really needed to get this one. We are tied for second in the SEC standings at 7-2, tied with Tennessee and Texas A&M. So we have a chance to
take sole possession of second place.
Yeah, we play, the teams we're tied with. That Florida win looks better and better. Florida and Kentucky are 6-3, a game behind us. And then Bama, the unnamed team that we do not want to talk about, is 9-0. But now they did kill Vanderbilt. But it was nice to see them almost lose to Mississippi State, and it was nice to see them get
Oklahoma
destroyed by Oklahoma. And in case you're keeping track at home, children, Auburn still controls our destiny in the SEC regular season championship because Alabama has to play us twice, including at Neville Arena in the next home game. The next home game is Alabama. And while we're here, Ben, if you have a ticket to a 6 p.m. Wednesday game in Neville Arena, for the love of all that is holy, can you please find some human in East Central Alabama to go to the game? Like the amount of empty seats.
Wait, hang on. So let's hold on because we got a little inside intel from the AU Jungle vice president.
Thank you.
That there was a lot going on tonight for the students on campus.
But the students were fine.
Oh well, then we'll make no excuses for the remainder.
The old people have always been the problem. They're getting better. When I was there, it was a full-on disaster how bad the alumni sections were. But look, we're too good. Okay, we're too good. This team needs the home crowd too badly. And you missed a really good blowout of Georgia that you could have enjoyed if you didn't go to this game. If I lived closer to Auburn, I know it's hard on the weeknights, but this wasn't an 8 p.m. tip. You can't tell me everybody's working till 6:30. If Jackson was here, he would laugh at that. There's no way people in East Alabama are working till 6:30. Nobody works as hard as you New Yorkers. And anyway, that was disappointing.
Yeah, get in there and fill the stands, people.
Fill the stands. Great to see Florida beat Tennessee. Love seeing Tennessee lose. They're really good.
But it's a good reminder that no one that is left on this schedule is unbeatable. If you were thinking about checking out, if you were thinking that Auburn's chance to repeat was totally in the gutter, I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're number 2 We still control our own destiny the rest of the way. Yes, it is a tough road, but that is why you need to be dialed in.
Well, and look, we play the next three. We play the top four. The other three teams in the top four. We play them the next three games. So we're gonna find out. Can we get even with A&M? Look, winning in Knoxville is hard, but Kentucky did it. And if you're looking ahead, let's talk about Tennessee, because I think that's interesting. Tennessee, I don't know if you saw the stat during the game, because of course we got to talk about other SEC teams besides Auburn during the Auburn game. Tennessee is like holding teams to the third lowest points per game this late into a season ever, at 54 a game. But if you notice tonight, now this is in Gainesville, they only scored 54. They are not a team that typically, they have buried some teams when they get hot from three, but I kind of like the matchup, Ben. They're big. They're going to give us some trouble inside, like you said. They're very experienced. They're a better team than us, I think, but they kind of play a style that maybe we can make it a defensive slugfest and hang around and have a chance in the second half.
Yeah, I think we match up with them better than the other team that we won't talk about just yet because we're not playing them yet.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be a tough environment, just like it was when we went up there with one of our most loaded teams ever. But that was a night where Walker had a bad shooting night. I believe Jabari's numbers were just pedestrian. I think he had like 18 points or something like that. You know, he wasn't the hero we needed, just the hero we deserved. And yeah, Tennessee's gonna be mad. They're gonna be hot. They're gonna be coming off a bad loss, and they're gonna be at home. But Janai is one of the best big men in the SEC. I think he proved that when he went toe to toe with Castleton, and I think we have something that a lot of other teams don't, which is Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams is a big body inside. You're going to see him matched up with Vescovi a lot from Tennessee, but he's got a size advantage there, and that hook shot is not blockable by anybody that he's going to go up against. So if we follow the recipe that we know works, getting the ball inside and making sure that our shooters can get quality looks and one-on-one opportunities to the outside, there's a real chance there.
And by the way, Ziegler's small. Vescovi's pretty small. Couple other guys.
Vescovi's what, 6'4"?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's look that up. Live podcasting here.
Oh yeah, good times, everybody. Here we go. He is still their leading scorer, by the way. No, sorry, they've got him listed as 6'3", 192.
Yeah, and how that works in basketball is he's probably 6'2".
Yeah. Switch him onto Jalen Williams. You're feeling real good about that matchup.
Well, and even KD, right? Like I think, look, Tennessee's really good. I don't want to downplay. I was at that game last year in Knoxville, and it made me very sad because we had beaten Tennessee 5 or 6 times in a row before that. So I just want to get that out there. I had some Tennessee fans talking trash to me today. And yeah, if you win this one at home like you're supposed to, you'll have a big old 2-game winning streak against us. I know it's a big deal. Text me when you get to 5 or 6.
Tennessee's a team. They've got 4 guys averaging in double figures,
yep.
And they have multiple guys averaging better than 33% from 3. So it is a strength against a strength there, even more so than that A&M matchup, I think. So we've kind of gotten to watch a couple of teams that are good from 3 and how they're going to play against us offensively. And what I trust is this coaching staff to understand how to get us into a good position to, at the very least, have them taking tough shots.
Yep.
Because if you want to live by the 3-point line, you're going to die by the 3-point line pretty hard too. Because if we go 3 straight possessions, getting 2 on our end and holding them to contested looks from 3 in a row, that's a 6-point swing. You'll take that every time.
Yeah. The people I know who've watched Tennessee a lot say when Vescovi's missing, they're very beatable. He's kind of their primary 3-point shooter in their offense, what they look for. So my big concern, though, I mean, I think can Auburn score in Thompson Bowling? Can they score enough against that elite scoring defense of Tennessee on the road? Can we get to 70? And that's going to be a tall task. I mean, Florida barely got to 60-something before Tennessee started fouling in the late, and that was at home. So can Bruce, this is a classic Bruce, though. I mean, we're going to get some opportunities this last half of the SEC schedule. We're going to be probably underdogs in 5 or 6 of these 9 games. And I think Bruce it's been a while since he's been able to fully relish just how little people think of this team, even our own fans, some
Oh
of
yeah.
them. Um,
And ladies and gentlemen, we're built for a rock fight. We've
we
been doing it.
are
We've been doing it all year.
we are built for that. And I will feel, well, first of all, with basketball, right? Huge opportunity. Don't look at it as a negative. Like, yeah, I don't want to lose to Tennessee. I don't want to lose to the team that's 9-0 in league play right now. But if you
But
beat
what
one
if
of
we
them,
win?
if you win, those are the kind of resume boosting. There are 5 or 6 quad one opportunities out there the rest of the way. I think we're 2-3 right now in our quad one game.
We're currently projecting as an 8 seed, and you talk about if we pick up 2 of 5 of those games, we're talking about maybe a 6 seed,
For
maybe a
sure.
5 seed if we can pick up a couple of wins in the SEC tournament. And you want to talk about a path to the Sweet 16, which we've always all sort of felt is probably around the ceiling of this team, which is still a fantastic year. Hang a
Yep.
banner, Sweet 16. Everybody does it except for Duke and Kansas and Kentucky. Um, a 5 or 6 seed versus an 8 seed,
Huge.
you're talking about 2 winnable games, and you're in, and you're talking about another great all-time great Auburn team. So those are the opportunities that are in front of us with this challenging schedule. Yeah, it'd be great to win them all, but be realistic. You win about half, we're talking about a team that's in a really good position to do something special.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, like I'll be thrilled. I'm going to go on record right now. I'll be thrilled if we get one of these 2 road games. If we can split them, and I think A&M is actually more favorable matchup than we made it look in Neville Arena. I kind of like our chances there. They've struggled a little bit since our game. But man, this Tennessee game, if we go into Knoxville and win, that's going to really reframe, I think, even our podcast and our fan base's potential of what this. Oh wow, like this team could do that. We know anything can happen in college basketball, but like if we see it with our own eyes and we go toe to toe with Tennessee and beat them in Knoxville, huge opportunity.
So tune in, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss it.
And the next home game again, guys, it's Neville Arena. It's a team from across our state. For the love, I mean, just go to the game. It's a Saturday. I know this was a Wednesday. I'm trying not to be overreacting. We need Neville Arena to be on 11 from the jump for that next home game, because that, you talk about another huge opportunity, right? Bruce is going to love that one too. So buckle up, kids. It's about to get hopefully exciting. Hopefully we can create some chaos in the SEC this year.
We always got a puncher's chance, Matt.
Agreed. Any other thoughts, Ben? Oh, we want to shout out for that game in the next home game against Alabama. It is the Outlive game. Coach Pruitt reached out to some people. We want to make sure to get the word out. Buy your T-shirts. Donate.
There's a link on our Twitter page.
Yep, donate. Great cause. The money that goes into that goes to local people fighting cancer. All of it, 100% of it. It's been going on since Bruce was at Tennessee. It's an awesome thing that he does. He's really passionate about it. The whole fan base is rallied around it. So support that. You've got 10 days or so till that home game. If you're going to the game, wear your Outlive shirt. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be an awesome look.
All right, guys. War Eagle, everybody. Great to beat Georgia always. We're halfway home, Ben. Let's get a few more wins and go dancing.
How about them Tigers?